Of every Adam Sandler movie, Little Nicky was the first and almost last to get a toy line. In November of 2000, Little Nicky was released in theaters and was a box office flop, only earning $58.3 of its $80 million budget. Little Nicky had a lot of things going for it with a great cast and great writers, but people just couldn't look past his Deep South accent. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today to talk about the McFarlane toy line for the movie Little Nicky. So recently I stumbled upon the YouTube channel Austin the Brimstone, and he's been covering all the Shrek toy lines. So if that interests you, I will link it down below if you want to check that out. But while watching his videos, I loved the history behind the toys that he was doing, and Shrek's first toy line was with McFarlane, as was Austin Powers and Little Nicky. So yeah, I felt like maybe I could do one on Adam Sandler's toy line with Little Nicky. So this is it. So McFarlane obtained the toy line for Little Nicky. There's not a whole lot of information on this. I've tried finding stuff. I've looked up YouTube videos. I've Googled it. Couldn't find a lot of information, but the information that I have, I dug as deep as I could for it. There's probably some out there. I did find a few things, but McFarlane pretty much, the Little Nicky line, it's very similar to the Austin Powers figures. They're interactive. Don't have a lot of posability to them, so once you get them out of the box, you could have a nice display. But to me, I think they look best on card. But while doing my research on this video, I did find there were 4 figures, but I've been searching on eBay, like I said, and there was one Mr. Beefy that came with an I Heart Acting welcome mat, and it doesn't have a barcode on it. It came in a little bag. So I've seen this for months, but when watching Austin the Brimstone's videos, he talked about at Toy Fair for Shrek, they gave away a little bag Shrek, and if I can find one, I'll leave it right here. But that was how they promoted the toy line at Toy Fair. McFarlane and Mike Myers actually handed those out at Toy Fair. So I'm assuming that the Mr. Beefies was what they did with Little Nicky. So Little Nicky would have come out in 2000. Shrek was 2001. So this probably was the first. They could have done it with other movies. I don't know. But the Little Nicky one did happen before Shrek. But yeah, that figure, the Mr. Beefy one that I'm talking about, it was a Toy Fair giveaway, as far as my research can tell me. So as far as the card design for the Little Nicky toy line, I noticed some similarities with the Shrek line also. So in Austin's video, he talked about how the card back design wasn't exclusive to the figures. They used it on a couple other items, but I'm sure it was used on something else. I've seen it with the Game Boy, like promos for those. As for the main line, you had 4 figures. The first figure was Nicky in his Earth outfit. It's where he's sleeping in the apartment on the furnace, and it came with Mr. Beefy and that I Heart Acting welcome mat. So like I said before, these figures were interactive. That figure has snoring and demon noises that it can make, the interactive function. And it also came with the Mr. Beefy, which I do have the Mr. Beefy. So as of right now, this is the only McFarlane Little Nicky toy that I have. I have Mr. Beefy. Yeah, this came out of that figure set, but the guy that shipped it to me, he didn't package it very well, and the blister actually came off the card. So I kept Mr. Beefy, and it was missing the welcome mat. So I sold the Nicky figure for what I paid for the whole thing and kept Mr. Beefy. So it is what it is. But the Mr. Beefy figure, the stand is what made the interactive. Like the figure doesn't say anything. But the stand did have a Mr. Beefy quote that said, "You love acting, I love pissing." The second figure was a larger Mr. Beefy that was missile firing. And he shot missiles out of somewhere that wasn't his butt. So I'll let you do the math on that. But he did shoot missiles. That Mr. Beefy figure, it came with phrases. It said, now that hurt the both of us. To me, this figure doesn't display very well because, I mean, as you can see right here, it's got like a top-down view of the figure where, like most figures on card, you can see the figure. This one, the way they had to display it in the packaging, you're looking at the top of it instead of the front of it. So not a very displayable figure on card, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, it's a larger Mr. Beefy. They were in the same line, so similar to the Shrek. If you watch Austin's video, Dragon was released in the same like 6-inch line. I'm guessing that Mr. Beefy was just included with that 6-inch line. The third figure or figures in that set was Cassius and Nicky in hell, and they came with the head that they're playing darts with. So there's a dartboard with a face in it. I don't know if it's a head. This also came with an accessory of the flask, which you know, when they're in hell, they don't have the flask yet. They don't get the flask until Cassius and Adrian escape hell and freeze the gate. But the flask came with this, and the flask would make more sense to come with Nicky and Mr. Beefy, but it came with Cassius and Nicky. Nicky says in this figure, yeah, you got me. And I don't know if it's the face saying the rest of them, but the other phrases this figure said was, oh, you're the winner. Oh, hat trick. And good work. This figure also has crotch punching action. So if you remember in the movie, Cassius plays mind games with Nicky, gets in his head, and starts making him punch himself in the crotch.
Hat trick, good one. No, please don't do this.
So that figure has crotch punching action. The final figures were the Gatekeeper and Gary the Monster. So these were, they could have made a lot more figures, but I mean, I'm glad that these did get made. They didn't really get to expand on the universe of Little Nicky because these didn't sell that well. I'm sure if they did, they would have done more figures, but the Gatekeeper has wind up tassel spinning action and says, haha, I'm having such a wonderful time with you. Oh, very nice. So yeah, that's what the Gatekeeper and Gary the Monster did. And that was the short-lived life of the Little Nicky toys made by McFarlane. Like I said, I currently don't have any of the figures. I do want to get all of them in the collection. But like I said, the only one that I have right now is that little Mr. Beefy back there. Yeah, I do wish that I had more information on this. There is a behind the scenes, like you can watch behind the scenes of the movie, but it doesn't really talk too much about it. Just Adam Sandler talks about how he handpicked the cast and wrote the characters hoping that those characters would get casted right for who he hoped, and ended up getting everyone that he wanted. He wrote Tiny in it as Cassius. He wrote Rodney Dangerfield in it. He wrote the Devil. I mean, everybody in the movie he handpicked, and they all signed up for it. And it was something that all of them believed in. It just didn't perform as well. I mean, I love Little Nicky. I think it's a great movie. It did fly above my radar, which in 2000 I was 5. So, but my mom and my dad did watch Adam Sandler movies and Happy Madison movies. I'm not sure why that one kind of got away from me, But I'm glad that I found it later in life, and it's got an amazing soundtrack. It's just a great movie. If you like, Adam Sandler's accents don't bother me. I think they're funny. So I know that JCA99 told me he went and saw it in theaters and hasn't watched it again because of his accent. So to me, Little Nicky is just, it may not be like one of his best, but it's one of my favorites. So yeah, I hope you liked this. I hope you learned a little something. But if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
So, let's rate this, shall we? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10, don't even waste your money, and 10 being, oh my God, so good. I'm going to give this, man, I was impressed. Better than I thought it was going to be. I would give it a 91.